What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the second episode of the Genshin Impact podcast on the 59 Gaming or 59 Gaming channel. We're just doing a quick audio check. We should be live. Everyone in chat, make sure our audio levels are fine. Let us know if you hear or don't hear anything. And I'm going to hand it over to Professor Sensei, who's going to be our host for this show. Go ahead and take the floor, Professor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. They're coming out, I guess, for me it's tonight, for wherever you are. Thank you for coming out. We're going to be getting into our second week into our experiences and the new event we got and the 1.1 leaks and confirmations that we have. So without further ado, let's introduce who we got here today. We got a brand new member. His name is Darkskin Gaming. Go ahead and introduce yourself if you don't mind.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Darkskin. You already know what it is. Fairy Gang, Beto Gang in the building.
All right. Nas already introduced himself. Gaileret.
Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing today? It's Gale here, back at it again for another episode of the Genshin podcast. Looking forward to discussing all the leaks and other stuff that's happening in the game right now.
And last but not least, we have Hydros.
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
All right. Well, let's jump right into it, guys. I guess, Gail, how are you still feeling about the first 2 weeks into the game?
I mean, it's fantastic. I still think the game is on track with what was pretty much expected from my end, especially as a ex-beta player. Obviously, they have done a lot of changes, which I'm glad they have in certain places. Some changes that I still think needed a lot of improvement, but I'm still keeping my opinions kind of above the table, just in case, they might make changes come 1.1, 1.2, and so on. Specifically stuff like the resin system, I still think that needed changing in the beta. It still hasn't changed. Definitely needs big changes. Apart from that, I think I've kind of been enjoying the game, seeing everybody play it, as I mentioned, and seeing the huge numbers that it's been achieving. It's been amazing to look at. I've been thoroughly enjoying the game.
Yeah, I've had a blast. It hasn't actually slowed down for me at all. I figured I would have hit that typical gacha wall by now, where I've run out of content. I'm just waiting for the next banner. I'm waiting for the next release. That has not happened. My personal hype for the current banner unit Venti hasn't changed at all. So I still feel like I'm on the uphill right now for Genshin Impact as well.
Me personally, my favorite game of all time is Breath of the Wild. So going into Genshin, I had like a mindset of how much I wanted to grind, and I thought I was gonna hit that that part of me where I was just like tired of the game. But I'm currently like AR 39, and I still play like 10 plus hours a day, and I just haven't hit it. Whether it's like I won't have any more missions, but even running around just finding chests, doing bosses with my friends, all of that stuff is just like super fun. The units are super amazing. I like how you can build your characters how you want to, if you want it to be support, damage, etc. So like I'm enjoying the game still after 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much echoing most of what everybody else already said. The gameplay itself has been extremely enjoyable. This game really snuck up on me. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, just because I'm usually not super interested in IPs where I have no background with the characters, but every single one of them has pretty much been pretty well rounded out and enjoyable to use in most cases from the different situations where I've used them. And like Darkskin mentioned, the Breath of the Wild similarities, but also enough deviation, like no weapons are breaking on you. They've incorporated kind of a more Xenogears or almost Final Fantasy 15 style of combat system. So you can definitely tell they had their eyes or their radar on a lot of popular games and borrowed a lot of good mechanics from those games to construct this game. And I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to be like calling them out and be like, oh, you copied this or that. No, like most video games nowadays realistically are like that. And when they've taken a bunch of really good elements and streamlined them, the game itself has just been extremely enjoyable. I will say that I can also echo some of the community's concerns about the resin system and late game content, but I also, like Gail said, I have to meter that because the game is very, very young, and I do anticipate that the systems and things will change over time. Like this situation right now with Endgame that we're currently talking about that's faux. That's not even real. We're nowhere near the actual end game the developers have in mind. So you got to keep those things in mind and remember that as a games as a service type of game, it's going to constantly evolve. So I haven't been too angry, even with the resin and stuff like that at this point. If it never changes, then maybe we'll have something to complain about. But at this point in time, I think they're doing A+ material right now. How about you, Hydros?
Yeah, I mean, I love how the game is fully free-to-play friendly even after 2 weeks. Like, I still don't have but one 5-star character. I only have Mona, and I've been only free-to-play when doing gems and stuff. So, being able to build a team, like Razor is one of my favorite characters to actually use. Even though he's a 4-star, he's still really good on DPS, and that's one main thing that I currently use along with Barbara on a healer and stuff like that. So teams can be very diverse. Even as free to play, so don't knock the game just because it's a gacha at the end of the day. And like Nas said, the game is still very young. It's gonna have a few hiccups probably at the beginning. Obviously, all games do. But as we get going, they'll learn from things. Like I know a lot of people hate it when people probably compare it to Breath of the Wild, but if you look at it, there are very much a lot of similarities. And I absolutely love Breath of the Wild. It was one of my favorite games. I hardly put it down when it came out. And playing this game, I have hardly put this game down. So, it's a very transitional experience going from Breath of the Wild to this. It's very cool. And another thing I like is the artifacts. It reminds me of Grand Cross, except without the garbage enhancement rates. That's another thing.
I want to echo.
At least it doesn't require like 1,000 gems like it did initially on Grand Cross when we didn't have anvils and stuff.
Man, I don't even want to think about that.
Back on JP, if you played on the release of JP, there were no anvils, no hammers.
Oh god,
you had to reroll base stats, sub stats, everything with like gems. So
rare gear was the way to go at the start.
Praise the R gear.
R gear was king. Sorry, Prof. Sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
It's all good. Nas brought up the resin system, and we've been seeing a lot of people complain about resin, especially in week 2, because they kind of hit their personal walls because they were bum rushing the story and they want to do endless quests. But I've got to echo Darkskin in that I'm so content right now just running throughout the world, not even looking at my map. Just, oh, there's a treasure chest. I'm going to hit this. Oh, look, there's a monster over there. He looks pretty big, right? Like that's enough for me right now. I don't even care about my R rank. It's just kind of coming to me.
Yeah, and another good thing, too, that we don't see from a lot of other games is the game's only 2 weeks old. They've already released a survey on social media to get player feedback. So not only are they, planning on premium content, a lot of new stuff, but they're already trying to take in people's thoughts and feelings and take that into consideration when kind of designing some of this new content. So that they definitely deserve a pat on the back for that as well.
Well, you're segueing us pretty good because we're speaking about new content, and it looks like we're about to see 1.1. Looks like mid-November.
Yeah, they have set up a roadmap now reliably that we have to look forward to.
Well, for the actual patch for when we're getting a good chunk of content, not that we'll get into the current event in a moment, but when we're going to actually get the 1.1 release.
It was, I believe, November 11th. They said they'll be dropping the big patch.
They said, I think it was November 7th or 11th. I think you're right, and it's November 11th. They also specified that it's going to be a similar 6-week pattern to Honkai Impact. So they're following their other game in their, launching their big updates in a 6-week gap, basically, which I'm kind of mixed on. I think it's good because if they want time to test stuff, we do know that people are currently testing the 1.1 version of the game in private. It's the worst kept secret basically that it is happening right now. But it also gives them time to fix stuff, balance characters if need be, and so on and so forth. But yeah, we know that 1.1 is November 11th. I think 23rd December is 1.2, and sometime in the middle of February is 1.3. And they've specified what's gonna be coming in each update as well. If you want to take that forward, Nas.
Yeah, they've mentioned the Golden House event. I believe is gonna be something coming up, which is gonna be like a child boss fight. I believe it's gonna be like a co-op raid style event. Then they also had mentioned the Unfallen Star. I forget the actual name of it.
I think it's Unreturned Star, but I could be wrong.
And that's going
Yeah.
to be something involving a bunch of challenges and missions that you can do. And then at the end, I believe you can redeem a free copy of Official. So if you don't already have her, you'll have her. And if you already have her, you get another dupe path in her. I'm not too sure with too many of the specifics because there's a lot of rumors swirling around as well. And then the February update, I didn't even really look that far into it. So if you know what's coming all the way that far forward.
Yeah. Yeah, December they're gonna release the next city. Well, we're assuming 1.1 is also gonna release the chasm and some more extra parts of Leeway, which is gonna be great because we do know that there's some parts of Leeway still missing. It's big, but there's like the chasm we think is part of Leeway. I think there's a bit of the southern region of Leeway as well that is to account for. We still have to account for Ningguang's Jade Palace as well. But yeah, 1.2 is going to be the official release for the first, or one of the next cities, I should say, and it's the snow region, which we assume is going to be Snezhnaya, where the Fatui take place, or the Fatui live, we should say. And then for 1.3 is the Star Festival. I don't think that's the full name, but it's the Star Festival. It was technically planned to be dropped on October 1st with the launch, but they ran into some development issues from what I remember reading in the article. Hence why they've kind of postponed it all the way to the 1.3 update because they felt like it'll be better placed then at a time when the festival is actually taking place in real life, if I'm not mistaken. So I think those are the version updates as far as I remember.
Now, is the snow region, is that up northwest of the Animo region, or is that like what is the Dragon Spire that's in the very middle? Because you can already see some of the snow kind of in that area.
I think that is the snow region. I think that's going to be kind of like a sort of like a Mount Everest kind of like highest peak in the place where Snezhnaya rests, basically. I'm not too sure beyond that if it'll be anything more than that, but I assume that sort of like southern, like Middle East kind of area that Dragonspire and the rest take up is probably going to be like Snezhnaya, basically.
It's very interesting because there's certain areas of the world border that kind of clip into that area and allow you to walk in. And if you get really close to those mountains that are there, you can totally tell that they're completely unrendered. They have like no textures on them. They're really pixelated, and you can actually walk right through them, and they're just completely hollow. And basically, that whole mountain range that you see is just a placeholder texture until they drop this new region in. It's just kind of like an optical illusion almost the way they've set it up. So I'm actually kind of excited for that, knowing that's gonna, the whole bunch of new stuff is just gonna appear there at some point in the next few months.
Yeah, no, I personally don't feel like the current schedule is too long in between patches. As long as they address the I guess everybody's saying the resin issue, but it's really I want to be able to sit down with my friends and do reliable co-op and feel like I'm rewarded for my time. If they address that in the next coming weeks, then this kind of release schedule is not going to bother me personally at all.
Yeah, I mean, as we've seen also, like, with this Elemental Crucible that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, like, this just dropped in the middle of like, we're still in 1.0. This event came without an official update or patch release, so as long as they continue to pepper in little events like that, too, in between the major patches, I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem.
That was a big thing that I didn't really like whenever they first said that they were going to do, like, 6-week patches.
Mm-hmm.
Was that, it's going to be really big updates every 6 weeks. But then, I was talking to a couple of people, and if they put, like, little events in between those 6 weeks, so there's something for us to do, or we have something to work with, then, like, the 6 weeks are not going to be as bad. And as far as the resin, I feel like they didn't realize a lot of people were going to be grinding bosses as much as they are. Now, granted, it could have just been misjudgment or anything. I felt like you should have got more resin as you leveled up, right? So every time you level up, your resin count, your maximum resin increases or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be really my only, like, flaw or concern really with the game. Everything else seems to be going well. So if they change that or fix that or whatever, then it'll be perfectly fine for me.
Like, for me, if the boss just dropped petty loot and had a stupid low chance of getting the good drop from the boss, so you had a reason to farm them indefinitely, then I'd be fine. And then the resin I don't care about that. That's just the guaranteed the loot from the boss, as far as I'm concerned, and that would be on a timed sequence. But I don't know how they can address it other than giving us rewards for, rampaging around, or maybe there's a quest chain we can start that spawns a ton of camps with bosses across your map that you need to go clear with your friends.
Yeah, I think the best, like Darkskin said, one of the best ways to do it is just uncap the resin for every rank you go up. So say rank 20, you're at 180, and then rank 30, 240, and so on and so forth. Another alternative is obviously increasing the amount of stamina items we get, because fragile resins we get like 2 per rank, and that's basically 120 resin effectively for you to just spend, and that gets spent in pretty much a day if you really had to. But of course, uncapping is one way I think definitely they can do it. Another thing that I think would be very nice is the restoration time is probably one of the worst I've seen in any gacha game, quite frankly speaking. I think, we're so used to seeing, I think Grand Cross is 2 to 3 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's 3 minutes. Dokkan is 5 minutes. I don't know what Legends' current one is, because I know they've changed their energy stamina system, but I'm not sure. But they're usually between 3 to 5 minutes effectively, and this is 8 minutes to restore 1 resin, which if you want to restore your full bar, it takes up 16 hours, and not a lot of people stay up for 16 hours to do another full bar of resin and so on again, and do that again and again. So that's another thing that I think they need to address, is reducing the time it takes to restore 1 resin for sure.
I think Legends is like 20 minutes per 1 bar, because it's still the 10 stamina, but they uncapped it to where you could have 9,999 of like energy tanks. So
got you.
That's a bit different, but even with Dokkan, like if you have a 200 to 300 stam bar, 5 minutes adds up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's partially why I said even if
kind of almost the same.
Yeah, even if we uncap it, that whole problem of the restoration time taking too long is going to still basically bite it in the back effectively. So along with uncapping, I think the restoration time definitely needs to also be addressed as well and go down just a tad bit.
Need some more Mora, by the way.
Oh yeah, I think they need to scale the blossoms a bit better as well, in my opinion. That's something that I've had a problem since the beta as well. Like this Mora scaling is pretty poor in my opinion. You get 45k at AR35, correct? I could stand wrong here.
44k, yeah.
44k, thank you. I think it was around that, but yeah, 44k, and it costs to ascend 1 unit 80,000, and then on top of that you spend another 200,000 to go from 60 to 70 basically. So you're spending 280k, but you can only get 45k from 1 blossom a run, and say you spend all your resin, your 120 resin, you're basically getting enough for 1 character through 1 bar. It's not really a fantastic 1:1 ratio in that sense. I'm not saying it should be like 200k per blossom drop, but it should be a bit better than 45k, or it should be something like maybe 80k or 100k, something like that. It doesn't have to be extortionate, but it doesn't have to be so minuscule to the point where you're only spending your resin on Mora and nothing else.
All right, well let's
one
actually
thing before we segue off. Like, people who are considering buying the battle pass, I've seen people look at it and be like, well, that's not really worth it. And I've countered that with the $10 version, and putting in those levels just for the Mora alone has been worth it for me. Oh, it's so good. You get chunks of like 130,000 at a time, like right when you need it the most. So
it's definitely worth. I recently maxed out mine for scientific purposes. I needed to get the battle pass weapon, and then I needed the mats to max it to like 70. But like the amount of resources that they give you, like not even including the 680 primos at the end, but the amount of resources that they give you, you get like 2 million something Mora on top of the enhancement crystals, on top of the character XP. Like it's so worth. Like for $10, like it's super worth.
I'll be very honest, I didn't think it was worth initially. Like when I first bought it, I was like, I don't see myself reaching 50. It's not going to be worth it in the long run. Maybe I made a mistake spending these $10. I should have just spent the $5 on the monthly pass, which I already did at that time. But then as it added up, right, like today I was just thinking about it right after I finished Crucible, and I had collected the rewards from the battle pass as well for doing the Crucible and stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is now feeling like it's worth it. Late game is where the battle pass really comes into its own, and it's like, okay, that was worth the $10 I invested into the game for sure.
Yeah, I actually caved in last night because I looked at all the resource I was going to get. Because originally I was like, I'll just wait till 30 and then pick up the weapon. And then I needed a bunch of more. I'm like, well, this is almost a steal, actually, if you count it all the way to the end. And so, yeah, I caved in and grabbed it last night. I think we covered that. Let's go into segue and talk about the Crucible event itself. I'm assuming we've all completed it at this point. I personally like the event. I like the concept they went with it. I don't know the nitty gritty on if this is the best way to spend your resin, but it seems like you even if you're not certain if this is where you want to spend your fragile resin, you can definitely just keep spamming the event itself to unlock all the rewards down the list.
As far as the event, I mean, the event, I see what they were trying to do. It's cool that they dropped an event. It's co-op. You can play with people. And it's nice that you don't have to spend resin for the event, for some of the rewards. Granted, if you do spend resin, there's it's been calculated that there's like a 0.25% increase compared to, say you do 2 blue ley lines, which would net you like character XP. You get a little bit more for doing this event than that. But the problem with that is no one's actually grinding blue ley lines, for character XP. Yeah. That's not something you're going to generally do. So as far as using resin for this, I don't think it's worth it all. It is nice that we get free rewards just for grinding it. I feel like it should be a little bit harder, especially with, if you're a higher world rank and you get placed with lower level people, you got to play in their level. So that's like one of the drawbacks. And I'm pretty sure it scales off of world rank, like how many rewards you get. So if you don't get high ranked people, you just have to,
doesn't it scale the rewards based off your personal level?
Does
it? No, I'm pretty sure
the lowest person in there.
It might do that, but even with that, right? As far as the difficulty, because I've had a couple where I'm like in a world rank 2 lobby, and then my character's just one-shotting the mobs. Yeah. So it's like that's not really enjoyable as far as playing it. I mean, I guess it's faster, but it's like, I want to enjoy, grinding the event. So, which I mean, it's their first event. They're obviously, seeing how good it is, seeing what works, what doesn't. But I mean, for a first event, it seems fine for me. We get a lot of free rewards. I know free-to-play players are happy, and then the rewards you get for using resin aren't like insanely good. So it's not like a pay-to-win aspect of it.
I agree with you that it's really not fun when you're put with the low levels because you just annihilate it. But just to clear up for anybody listening, it does say clearly that the bounties will be calculated based on each traveler's individual world level. So you don't need to worry about wasting your resin or getting less rewards based on being queued with low people.
Yeah, one thing I will say, the only thing that was kind of difficult was trying to get that sub 3 minute in your personal world level. That kind of got on my nerves a bit, not gonna lie. I spent like 3 hours before I had to basically beg a friend. I had to beg one of my friends to help me out in that. But yeah, I will agree. Like in terms of difficulty wise, even if you're at your personal world level, it's just a matter of it taking a couple of more minutes. I think it takes like 3 to 4 minutes basically for an average clear.
Yeah.
It's good for a starting event. We had the same event through the beta basically as well. Not many changes since then. I think the only thing they kind of removed, I think, was some of the rewards that had artifacts added onto it, but they were basic 3-star / 4-star artifacts that were super basic. They basically replaced that with, I think, some more materials basically, which I don't necessarily mind because materials are always kind of nice to have. But yeah, no, for beginning an event, I think this is good. I think it's a good progress. Again, like you mentioned, Darkskin, it's good that you don't need to use resin at all for getting your missions done. But yeah, for a week-long event, this is perfectly fine. I hope they do more stuff like these week-long events, but maybe increase the difficulty a bit, maybe add some more missions, and we're good to go. I think these type of events for week-long mission events are good enough in my opinion.
Again, I want to say that like I don't think they expected people to grind as much as they are. because there's a couple of people that are like AR 42, 43. Like I said, I'm 39, and I feel like they didn't expect people to grind it that fast or that
I
much.
think I think they expected it to treat it like a proper mobile game and give it like an hour or two a day, maybe tops.
Yeah,
And then they didn't realize that there would be people who actually treat this like a proper, like, I wouldn't yeah, I mean, it is pretty much like it, they're treating it like a AAA title where they'll put hours and hours into the game each day.
yeah.
And then they've kind of been like, okay, we tried putting these walls in for you to kind of slow down a bit, like limiting the Mora a bit, resin and whatnot. Early game, kind of, how most gachas kind of try and limit people from getting a lot of stuff done in the first couple of months. I didn't think they realized that people would just break through it like casually even as well. So it is crazy.
If they gave me like the Spiral Abyss but co-op, I feel like I wouldn't care about the resin at all though.
At all. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, Spiral Abyss co-op would be fantastic. I think that's something that they should try and consider as well,
if you
maybe
make
in
it
a
a
future
separate
city.
thing?
But yeah. Sorry,
yeah,
go
I'm
ahead.
assuming there'll be a multiplayer version of that one day. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way there won't be.
Because that right there, like, I think the most people, when they're going to hit that content wall, it's going to be like, okay, I've explored everything. I'm out of resin. That's what we keep saying. But this gameplay is so exciting. Comboing is so fun. I could do that all day with you guys. I could sit down and try to min-max on how fast can we clear, 9-8 or whatever the heck it is, the Spiral Abyss is at that time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
No, I agree. Like, I think the most fun I've had in co-op is obviously just you choose a fire character, your friend chooses a electric electro based character, and you're all deciding to choose one specific element so that you can chain react and do some sick combos with each other. That in Spiral Abyss would be insane for sure.
I think I guess we've gone over the event pretty well. Any other comments? I guess we haven't heard too much from Hydros, or?
No, you guys are pretty much getting it.
All right.
From where
Well,
I
let's
am.
go ahead and segue into the 1.1 leaks and what's true and what's not. So far, it seems like the gacha changes and nerfs, just in general, seem to be completely false from what the beta testers are saying. But I'll go ahead and let Gale take this away since he's pretty rehearsed on the leaks so
Okay,
far.
so basically we had a couple of pictures. We spoke about this in last week's podcast. For those of you here, we had a picture of like a Discord chat, somebody mentioning there was a translation of like certain changes. There was an element of truth to some of the things he said. Of course, we'll talk about them in just a second with certain characters coming and whatnot. But stuff like the gacha changes, and then there was another picture going around where it was certain characters like Venti, D-Look, and Fischl's attack speeds were going down. Venti's cost to do his burst attack was going up. And then Keiching, Mona, and Amber, I think it was, got some buffs. Pretty much from what we've heard is that it was just some community members basically trolling and photoshopping some pictures and, getting stuff wrong for a lot of the community. So as of this moment, according to a lot of testers and people generally speaking in the community, we're pretty much assuming that it's like 90% to 95% false again. Right now, you have to remember the game is the 1.1 version is in beta, so this could completely change in like 2 to 3 weeks time again, and we'll come back saying, oh no, it's actually true. But as of right now, all of it does not look like it's actually real. A lot of it seems like it's been falsified, and it's stuff that's just been spread around just to get people kind of excited for no reason, basically.
Yeah, and regardless of whether it was true or falsified or photoshopped or whatever, I mean, at the end of the day, you also have to remember that it's a beta test realm. So even if, true or false, that doesn't mean that it's going to carry over into the full release of the game anyway. So any of that information you would always take with a grain of salt for the most part.
I do want to say, I think that they're false as well. I don't like a lot of the stuff was very questionable, but I do want to say that although the buffs and nerfs seemed fake, we did get the patch of Kaching and Mona getting hot fixes, which they were buffs, but it was hot fixes, which I thought out of all the characters, you could name any character, but those two characters were named in the leaks, so who knows? I mean, it could be a lucky guess. We don't know, but I just thought it was interesting that those two characters were specifically mentioned, and then they did get hot fixes or buffs, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, no, I agree. That definitely was very interesting. But I mean, to be honest, I mean, I've been saying this from day one, even after people started putting like, okay. So first things first, I'm a big personally. I'll say this: I don't like any of the tier lists. I think all units are very much usable. Yes, Amber is kind of meh, but I think she still has her usabilities, even if it may be as a lighter, basically, more than anything else. But I still think people who place like Kaching and Mona and like the low tiers were just wrong in anyways, and these buffs
Completely.
just make them massively better as well from what you've mentioned, dark skin.
Yeah,
So
I use
yeah.
Mona, and the difference is like almost night and day. Like, cause I thought her ult just didn't do damage at first, but after the update, like her ult is so good. You know, you pop her ult, you switch into another character. You know, the bubble goes off. She does way more damage now.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's good. I'm definitely like if they do decide, and I'll be very honest and say this as well. The nerfs mentioned, which was Venti, D-Look, and Fischl, they mentioned their attack speed going down a bit and Venti's burst cost going up. I'll be the first person to say if these are true, no changes. They don't make a difference to the characters. Maybe Deluxe actual like when you calculated his DPS might go a tad bit down because of course his attack speed's going down. But in general, their usability and their level of quality is not gonna be changed whatsoever. Like they'll still be just as good as they are right now, apart from the fact that they might be just a bit slower, but that's about it. Like their usability is not affected by what they have, what the nerfs actually mentioned. So first and foremost, it's probably false. But second of all, even if it is true, doesn't make a huge difference to the characters themselves.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple people about like because if the nerfs were true,
Hmm.
D-Luke is going to animation cancel his first auto into his E every time, which is going to
Yeah.
still net him basically the same amount of DPS. Into his ultimate, etc. Rinse repeat. As far as Fischl, a lot of people are running compound bow on her, which is a
Hmm.
craftable item that's going to be giving her attack percent and attack speed. You know, which
Yeah.
is going to be saving her from that. And then Venti, I use Venti.
Yeah.
He regenerates well over 80 energy before his ult
Yeah.
cooldown is over. So like I definitely feel like these nerfs were just like people were just trolling for sure.
Throwaways. It was just throwaways. Yeah. Yeah. It was just like we'll try and figure out something. But let's just throw these things, and they basically threw in the worst things they could have to kind of convince people.
Well, we can talk about something that seems to be pretty much confirmed, and we're just not going to show the footage here about I'm going to butcher these names, but Zhang Li and Child. The leaks on their gameplay and thoughts on their kits. But personally, I think I believe it's Child that has the two different kits where he goes from bow to melee. Looks like he would be a favorite of mine immediately. How about you,
Child
Dark?
Child seems to be one of those characters that I like to say some of the characters are like one man armies, like D-Luke. Child is one of those characters that you're going to invest everything into him. Your team's going to be like level 70, and then he's going to be like level 90 type of character. You're going to give him all the mats, the best artifacts, everything, and then he's just going to carry. Because number one, he's a bow user, and he can switch to melee, which it's double daggers and spear. He just seems like he's going to have an all-around kit to do whatever you need. Now, I personally like Zhang Li. I don't know if you guys saw the footage or anything, but between him being able to petrify, he gives an attack boost, and then he's like a spear user, and his combos look insane. Like he kicks his spear and it starts spinning and stuff like that. I personally like Zhang Li, but I think both of these characters are going to be very, very good.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree with Chilled or Child or however you call his name. At this point, I'm still confused on it. I'll call him Child for now, considering we're going with that. His kid seems insanely unique because I remember we were discussing this a while back as well. Was like, is he going to be like a sort of? We knew he was going to be a bow user, but we didn't know if he was going to introduce maybe a potential new era of or a new weapon type where there's two sword users or double sword users, kind of like adding in a Kirito basically or something kind of thing style, or was he going to be a straight bow user? But the fact that he does both is insane because it leaves there's so much potential in the future as well where they could do this sort of thing. It makes him unique as of this moment as well to the game itself as well. That's really good. And Zhang Li as well. I agree with you on the kit. His petrification is going to be very interesting. My only concern is, of course, right now with Zhang Li is the whole Geo thing. As of this moment, it feels a lot of the Geo users are defensively orientated, which personally, to my playstyle, I'm not a huge fan of that. But at the same time, the potential he has with his petrification and his potential to aid the party members, I think he has like a party buff as well.
Yeah.
That'll be really, really nice if you're going to put him as a support unit as well. That's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can actually do once we get our hands on them properly. Naz, you got anything?
I personally think Child is the better looking of the two, just because of his dual roles, like Darkskin had mentioned. As well, I don't know about y'all's personal team builds, but I don't have a very strong offensive water user, so he'll be quite nice to bring him along. I mean, I have Barbara, but she's more there for the heals. So I think, for me personally, he'll probably be more effective. However, the other dude, I mean, he looks really good. He just kind of annoyed me in the quest line, always making you pay for stuff for him, and until the end. He did buy you dinner in the end, in his defense, but I mean, I don't want to spoil too much, but he's kind of a cheapskate during the quest line. But with that being said, I'm excited for both of them. I think a couple other characters were mentioned, like a 4-star great sword user, like a female character that has like a banjo or something too, or a guitar. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as long as they pace the new characters pretty well. I don't want to get like deluged by new characters, because I'm assuming that we're going to get Klee, because we had the missions where you test her as well. So as long as they pace them pretty well, I think that'll be pretty cool. Because one thing I've noticed in this game is you definitely, like Darkskin mentioned, you have to prioritize like powerful units or units that you really like, because there's really not enough resources to go around for everybody. So if they have all these summoning banners, all these new characters, well, hopefully they'll increase the ways of getting resources and leveling up as well. Otherwise, it'll be a very slow process to make full new builds and new rosters. So with that in mind, I'm definitely excited for everything I've seen so far on the new characters. I haven't really seen one I don't like yet, because I definitely need a strong earth user. I need a strong water user. And I could even use another really good ice user, because I don't have Chong Yun or Chi-Chi. So I'm excited. The more new stuff, the better. It'll be interesting also to see if they ever come out with like different cosmetics, like different other ways to monetize the game, like different like Christmas, Halloween, Valentine's Day, different themes. It'll be really interesting to see where they take this game in the long run.
Not more Grand Cross, man. I can't do that.
Well, as long as they don't have like stats or anything like that on them, if it's just purely cosmetic, it'll be.
No, I bet there'll be stats, dude. They when you look at the glider, it has a 4-star rating on it. So they're going to be air quotes rare gliders.
Those could be just purely cosmetic, though.
Yeah.
But
you say they have like in-game leaderboards for farming the Spiral Abyss, right? And say like the top 10 players on the leaderboards get a 5-star glider that actually like has an animated wind design on it or something. Like I could see that being something that might be classified that way.
Want you to be right.
Okay, Fortnite.
Well, I mean, if it's cosmetic stuff and it just makes the characters look cooler, and you can choose whether or not to spend money, and then there's events where you can earn some of it. I mean, I'm all for that. I can't really complain. I mean, I could complain, but, as long as it's monetization like in that regard, and it kind of deflects some of the monetization away from resin and stamina refreshing, so they can kind of free up that system a little bit while still making money, I'm all for stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like they'll put cosmetics into the actual battle pass, like some of the other games that have battle passes do. Besides just weapons, they'll probably do something like that. Like if you get to the top rank or whatever, you probably get like a cool cosmetic for so-and-so character. It'd be pretty cool.
Also,
definitely see that.
About the other two characters, I think the 4-star greatsword user is like Xinyan or something like that. I think it's interesting because she's a fire unit, and she also apparently scales off of defense.
So kind of like Noelle?
Yeah. So she's going to scale off of defense. Apparently, that's what we've seen as far as the information. And she's going to be a great sword user and a fire unit. Now, I'm not 100% on what she does. I believe her ult has something to do with her like making like music with a guitar or something like that. But I think that's like I was talking to somebody about like filling in the gaps of like units that we need, because you know, like we have certain elements and bow users. Like we have Amber, who's a fire bow user. Then we have Fish, who's lightning. We have Venti, who's a Nemo, but we don't have like water. We don't have ice, etc. And Diona is a ice bow user that's a healer, apparently. So it's just like I'm really glad that they're already filling in the gaps of the like utility of different types of elements and weapons.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, we're still waiting on the Dendro side because there's absolutely zilch on that. But I agree in terms of like the other elements that are already prevalent in the game and we know exist and are able to use. It's good to see that they're covering the gaps. Of course, water bow we're getting ice bow, we're getting fire greatsword, which we kind of already have, but it's okay. We have the Geosphere for the first time, which is good because there's not a lot of polearm users. There's only one polearm user, and it's Zhang Li. We know Zhao is also existing, but he's not in the game right now. So, yeah, it's good to see that they're expanding on the roster a bit in terms of weapon types and elements, kind of, you know, matching elements with weapons for each one. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, no, I'm looking for the ice bow user. Now that you mentioned it, that's kind of cool because I mean, I do definitely need cryo users a bit more. Kea is not cutting it anymore, so definitely looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, he definitely looks the most interesting. I'm a sucker for anything that's a unique kit. It doesn't have to be the highest DPS. You don't have to be top of the leaderboard. If the character does a massive backflip or whatever and it looks really flashy, you got me. And he's got all those factors for me right now. Anyways, it looks like we covered if the nerfs and buffs are true. It looks like you were saying that that's going to be kind of almost irrelevant. I already experienced that as well. You mentioned with the Venti nerf, if it was real, that he's going to fill his energy up regardless. I personally am waiting on the cooldown of the skill, not the energy bar.
Yeah, dude, he fills up. Especially if you put, I have the Favonius Warbow on him. It's just ridiculous, bro.
Yeah, I run a Elemental Mastery artifacts, so the only like energy recharge are substats, and the bow, I get it almost immediately. So like they would have to like nerf it to 100 or 120 for it to actually like matter.
Yeah, I have a pat where I use him and D-Luke, and I pretty much just walk up at any camp, wipe it out, get all the energy, go to the next camp. So it didn't bother me. So I don't think it's something to worry about, even if it does come through. Because you mentioned that some of them were hot fixes, and back in my head, I'm thinking that maybe some of this could have been lost in translation. But you know, people already admitted the troll word, so who knows? It looks like something else that we're getting is going to be the pocket waypoint, the compass for the animalculi, I guess, and geoculi, and the pocket kitchen. How do y'all feel about that? I guess we'll start off with Nas.
The pocket compass is going to be extremely useful for me because I have 2 animalculi left and like 14 geoculus left. I didn't start out using the interactive map. Honestly, I wasn't aware of it, and I'd already cleared so many of them by the time I found out about its existence that I just decided to forget about using it altogether. So the compass, I'm extremely excited for. Since both my statues are level 9, I heard that might be a stipulation that you receive it once your statues get to level 9. I'm not sure if that's still accurate or not, but I'm real excited for that. The pocket kitchen, as well as the little pocket Happy Meal, because I think there was something else that went along with that you can like quick store 2 meals to quickly eat. I don't really think that that's as much of a helpful thing personally. That's coming from me. I have Barbara as a strong healer, so I almost never eat food. But it's, you know, if I need the combat buff food or I need something like that, it really hasn't been too obnoxious to just open up the interface and quickly eat something real quick. And as for cooking, I really like doing it in the game. I like the little, again, the Breath of the Wild style mechanics and the little RPG style, like Monster Hunter mechanics. So I do a lot of it, but I just do it in the town. I have tons of food stacked up. So that might not be quite as important for me. But the compass, I'm definitely super, super excited for. As well as the portable waypoint. That kind of reminds me of like a Scroll of Town portal from like Diablo or something like that. But it's a little bit more, you know, placement customizable. So, like, I believe Gale had mentioned, getting down to the Geo Cube, whatever the boss is, the boss cube fight to farm its resources. Yeah. It's kind of annoying getting down there in that region where the Badu ship is and that Geo Cube. So, leaving a portable teleporter there to be able to quickly farm resources or something like that. I think that could be a pretty neat little addition too, especially, I'm coming from someone who's explored the entire map. I have all the white waypoints unlocked, but when new regions start to unlock and we're getting to big unexplored areas, I think that portable waypoint is going to be even more useful than it is, with the current regions we have available.
Yeah, right now, that portable waypoint, if it dropped tomorrow, that's going straight on top of that Guyan Stone Forest area, the biggest point of it, just so that I can fly to the Geo hypostasis or literally the ship. But yeah, no, I agree. The Pocket Waypoint is, I think, my most anticipated one. Pocket Compass, I'll put my hands up and say I use the interactive map. Like the cheater I am, I used the interactive map, completed all of it pretty much. But it's really, really nice because I know the pain, because in the beta I hadn't used the interactive map. I didn't even know it existed, like UNAS. So I had to literally hunt for each one, and it is, once you get to that last one, you really want to tear your hair apart. It's gonna be such a nice addition if it is at the level 9 boundary or earlier. It's gonna be super useful. I'd hope it's the level 9 boundary, because there's some element that I want to still have where I'm exploring, collecting it without any help. From level 9 onwards, I can understand, like, you're on the last couple of ones, and at a point you get kind of exhausted of not being able to find anything. In terms of the Pocket Kitchen, it's handy to have the kitchen part of it, because I can quickly make it on the go. I'm not having to look for something to cook at or travel all the way back to Mondstadt or Leeway to cook. So Pocket Kitchen is fine. I agree with you on the fact that necessarily having something to immediately cook having a hotkey effectively to pick up and to eat a food isn't necessary, because all you have to do is press a button and you're automatically pretty much there to eat the food. So yeah, that's my only perspective on the Pocket eatable, I guess you could say. But the rest of it is just great additions. I think these are really nice quality of life additions, you could say. Absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to that.
As far as the compasses, I think it's a really good addition as well. I use the interactive map also. I got all the Animoculus, but once I used the map and finished the Geoculus, I had 2 left that I didn't have. It was interesting though, because after I was just running around playing the game, I ended up finding the last 2 that I needed. But most people may not be as fortunate, so I think it's a really good thing that they're adding those 2 into it. When I first saw they were talking about the Pocket Kitchen and the way to store like 2 foods, I actually thought of what if in the future we have like raids that are like a lot harder to do, and during the raids you cannot open your menu. In those instances, like the Pocket Kitchen or the 2 foods would be a lot more worth. On top of, I think currently right now, whenever you eat a food, it only applies to you, even if you're in multiplayer. But if they take that out of it, a lot of these buffs are like insane. Like there's one food that gives you like 360 attack and then like 10% crit rate for like 300 seconds. So it's like a lot of the foods would be like insane. So it's like in the future, if they had raids or stuff where you're not able to like change your weapon or go into your menu and do whatever you want, I feel like those things would be very beneficial. So.
I actually completely agree with that, because there are the dungeons where you're not allowed to bring food. So if this little 2-piece knapsack doesn't apply to that, then that instantly makes it like 10 times more valuable. So I definitely will agree with that. But in the flip side of that is, like, whenever my characters die is usually the only time I eat food, and they already kind of have a quick menu for that. So basically what Dark Skin Gaming is right. If it defies the laws of the food eating that we currently have in the game, then it's going to be extremely useful for sure. Just throw like 2 healing items in there or something like that, and you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
If you end up joining a co-op and you get stuck on a team build that has no healer, for example,
Yeah, and like I said, hopefully, in the future we get whatever, like if it's something new or whatever, but like a lot harder, where it's like there's no way I beat this by myself. and you have to go with like multiple people. In those instances where like say you are with your friends, you know, one person has 2 healing items, another person has 2 like attack boost, another person has 2 like defense boost, and then like it takes you guys coordinating to do it. But that's like more mid-in game type of stuff. But still, like if there were just things that were that hard where you had to coordinate and go to those extremes to win, I think that would be like super cool. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but I would like that.
I agree. I second that motion.
All right. Well, the next thing we have is a reputation system based on each city where the bounties. I don't have too much more information on that. I guess we're going to have a little bit of an EXP system based off each area, or do we have more information, Gal or Gail?
We basically have the image effectively, which we've seen. Again, we can't share it because it's leaked. We don't know if it's going to be true, and we don't want to take a risk. But based on the picture, from what it looks like, is that we've seen that Mondstadt will have a reputation-based system where you achieve side quests, interact with the community members of the city, or the citizens of the city, I should say. You complete certain quests, there are certain bounties you have to clear, and so on and so forth, and this adds up on reputation. Now necessarily, I don't think we exactly know what rewards you get. I think we've seen that you get maybe some materials from what I remember. I'm not too exactly sure on that, but effectively what we're getting here is a lot of like side quests and more bounties to do in each city, basically, for a reputation-based system.
I do believe, just to add to that, I saw that one of the rewards seemed like it would be like permanent discounts from various vendors in that city and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it was very similar to other RPGs where they have systems like that, where they like you more now, so you can pay less for like maybe your forging costs for materials will go down to the blacksmith, or when you go to buy milk or rice to cook stuff, it's 80 per stack instead of 100, stuff like that. So definitely.
Yeah, I think one of them was indeed like mining costs go down, or basically it basically allows you to search for. They give you information on certain mining spots, like to be active consistently, which is really good because I know a lot of people who are struggling with like finding white iron chunks sometimes and crystal chunks as well. If you're not using the interactive map, that is. So having this enable like all the mining spots available in the entire region is going to be fantastic for a lot of people just active on your map.
All right, and the last thing, it looks to be a gliding challenge. Now we've seen a few of those out in the world already. I guess they're going to expand on that, or have group challenges, or how do you think they're going to go about this one?
It's gonna be a bunch of checkpoint races and stuff like that, right? Like kind of how they have little Wingate races in the game already.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be anything exciting, at least as far as I know, unless they decide to do co-op gliding races, which I don't see it being. I just think it's gonna be single player focused in terms of just being able to do certain challenges. Yeah, we'll probably get rewards for just clearing challenges and doing like certain missions maybe that they want us, like for example, maybe some of the missions might include you gliding for a certain duration of time, or go as fast as possible, or something or the other. I think it'll be something along those lines. If anything, it might be similar to Amber's trial that we did at the start of the game. If anything, is my best guess. I think it'll be similar to that.
All right. And the last thing we have, I guess, would be the new event giving official. We kind of touched on the official event already, but if you don't already have official, it looks to be that you're going to be getting a copy of her. It's all but confirmed. And then we have a raid co-op dungeon that we've seen screenshots of, and that's going to be with the chilled final boss.
Chilled child
or child.
Child.
What are we going to call him?
We're using every name under the sun. We're calling him Chill, Child, Chill Day, whatever it may be. But yeah,
I'm excited for that. How about you, Dark? How do you feel about the co-op?
I mean, as far as the co-op raid dungeon, we don't have the specifics on it, so I'm not really sure, like, how good it'll be, because like this event, right? We didn't have the specifics on it. We didn't know how good it would be. Now we do. It's okay for a starting one, but I'm looking more for a dungeon that's going to be a lot harder to do, as far as, because right now, generally, if something's harder, it's not necessarily harder. It just takes a little bit longer to do. which I feel like that's not going to be as fun as if it's actually difficult to grind it. So, I mean, if that's what that's going to be, I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, we mentioned last week that whereas this game was mostly intended to be a one-player game, I personally think that a lot of the true fun and endgame and replayability is going to come with playing with your friends. So, honestly, the more they do in terms of co-op stuff is the way better for me. Like, because that's where you're going to want to play with your friends, farm stuff with your friends, and it just... In every game, you know, that has that option that does it well, that's what keeps people going back more often than not. So, you know, improving your own team and then playing with your friends, defeating tough bosses, that sounds like a really fun type of end game for me.
Well, I do want to say that I can already tell that it's going to be a lot harder in the sense of your characters don't scale with the world level 1-to-1, right? So at AR 40, you can get your characters to 80. AR 45, it'll be 90. 90 is the level cap for characters. So from 45 to 60, which we believe to be the cap, that's how many rewards you get from Catherine, you're going to be increasing in world level, but your characters are not going to be increasing as far as level. So your weapons won't be increasing. The only thing that's going to be, you know, getting better is your artifacts, substats, etc. So once you hit 50, 55, 60 world level, it's going to be way harder than at 45, even though your characters will only be 90, you know, from 45 to 60. So, I mean, as far as that, if it scales with world level, then fine. I feel like that would be very exciting. And, like, we're in the early game right now, so I'm not too worried about it, you know, as far as what they are planning on doing. I'm sure in the future they're going to address it a lot better and, you know, things like that. So,
Well,
Yeah, no, I agree on the whatever's been mentioned here. My only thing is, of course, we've seen in the leaks is regarding the chilled boss fight or child. I'll stick to child. I'll stick to child. I need to stop. I need to stop giving different names. The child boss fight. Assuming that and the raid co-op dungeon are somewhat linked, because we still don't know if it's the child boss fight is the same as the actual like raid co-op, because they said it's part of the Golden House event apparently. So if it is linked to the co-op raids, we do know that there will be a potential event shop as well, which I'm looking most forward to, because this event didn't have any sort of like event shop or anything. It was just straight rewards and go for it. Being able to actually have an incentive to use resin in an event, while I know we still have problems with resin, but being able to use resin to get like the materials, because some of the materials you can get are stuff you can basically get by farming the other bosses. So you're basically buying stuff like the Everflame seed from the Pyro Regiswine. You can buy it by just doing the raid co-op mission. So at least there's going to be an if it is the co-op raid dungeon boss against a child, there's an incentive for you to co-op, and you're not wasting your resin unnecessarily, because you're able to then buy from the event shop the same materials you would have had to basically farm up by doing it solo or with others in other normal bosses. So I'm looking forward to the event shop for sure. Again, provided that it is the co-op boss fight that we're talking about, of course.
yeah, I personally want to kind of build on what Dark was saying. I really hope this co-op raid boss is more of a very, very difficult fight that most people are probably going to be disappointed and think that it's just kind of stacked against them. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Want it to be something that I'm like, okay, who's Pyro, right? We're figuring out the elements. We know when the boss cues are. I want one of those moments. I don't want this to be something that I go in there just to watch them go through the motions as I go through the DPS checks, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where this game will start to really shine if the game starts beating me instead of it just being kind of a breeze.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that's going to make me salty, though, is if the child in that fight is super awesome with that final form, and then the summonable one's burst doesn't have him, like, transform into that really cool-looking form for a second. I'm going to be sad about that, because hopefully he'll be somewhat playable in that form as well. Probably not, but, you know, it would always be cool.
I mean, hey man, if you've learned one thing in any game, you will never be able to play as the cool final form, unfortunately.
Hey, we thought that about Lilia though, right, in Grand Cross. Hey.
True, that is true. Evil Lilia was like non-existent until very recently, so yeah.
All right. Well, if
I
you
mean,
guys don't have,
I'll go off of what Darkskin was saying earlier. I want to say that the boss wanted to make sure that like even the whales have a tough time, like not just the free to play, but even the whales can, like it needs to be like we can all just, boss that everyone has the time that we can just do together and stuff like that.
I feel like this is one of the kind of games since there's no auto button. If you're not good at the game, you're gonna lose. It's gonna kill you. So hopefully it's something that you have to be reactive to, and you can't just hit your dodge every time the boss jumps up in the air. It's a little bit more complex than that.
Depends if they actually make the AI as complex like that.
I mean,
just make it straightforward.
I've had a lot of fun with just like the weekly Storm Terror boss. I mean, fighting him the first time, obviously he's like a wet noodle, but when you go back and start fighting him again, like if they design a lot of bosses with different mechanics like that, I'll be super happy. Like where there's an arena, he lights the floor on fire. You gotta like, so not only are you just like bullet sponging or magic sponging, sword sponging, that terminology where you're just smacking on the boss, but there's actual like evolving elements to the stages, the different things, different phases that the boss will go through, like more like a traditional MMO, even like WoW or something like that. I'll really like it if they introduce a lot of fights like that, especially if they're co-op. Unfortunately, Storm Terror is not, but moving forward in the future, hopefully a lot of them have that option of playing with friends, kind of like the Wolf. He's a little bit too easy, but more of that would be better.
Well, you can have a scripted fight that's incredibly hard.
Right. I mean, as long as they go through phases, there's different, there's interaction going on in the fight, and like as long as you're not just smacking on a boss, and like you said, smacking and dodging, as long as there's more depth to it, I'll be happy.
To be fair, I've already seen instances like the potential is definitely there because if you've done it, I'm not sure where everybody is in Abyss, but I'm currently on floor 9, but like floor 7 and 8 were like I actually had to tweak my teams. I had to like put units in specific areas or specific places on my team and use specific tactics to like win against bosses because I think they're like the Fatui, the like real big guys. There's like
skirmishers, yeah.
There's like an ice one, a water one, an electric one. So you needed to have like an ice unit. You had to have electricity on your team. Then you had to have like fire. And like that makes you have to, go through your units and, put certain people on certain teams. Because my main team, I have to split them up now. I have to, think about the other, 2 or 3, 4 units I got to put on the team. So like already at floors like 7, 8, 9, etc., it's getting like really, really hard. I use Beto and like she hard carried me to beating a lot of those stages because of how her counter works. Negating damage. So it's like things like that where like you have to use certain tactics to win. Like we're already seeing it. So hopefully they just continue with that later in the future.
Yes, I'll agree with that, but I also don't want it to be too character dependent. Like it'd be cool if you could get through most of it just like you still have to have powerful grinded out stuff, but as long as you don't have to have like, oh, this brand new banner comes out, this unit's on it. You can't beat the event if you don't have like that unit. As long as they don't go down that route, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Do you know if the co-op raid is related to the 8-player co-op that was teased?
No, that we don't think is. We don't know if that was true or not still, and we don't think it's applicable to this one yet.
I feel like large scale co-op would still be pretty fun. Although we were doing some co-op earlier, and we've already having consistent disconnection problems. Like a person will just get stuck in the ground running in one place on somebody's screen while everybody else is out clearing the boss or whatever. I don't know if you guys have seen that in your own gameplay.
I've seen it, but it hasn't nobody. Like things are still happening on the screen, but the characters will frame skip around a little bit. So I don't know if anyone's actually been in my games. No one's actually been physically disconnected. It's just more of like a visual representation of some lag. But
yeah, technically we didn't have that as well. We didn't have a disconnect per se. We just had people effectively lagging out a bit, not being able to pick up some of the elemental cores. at times and stuff like that. It was very, very on and off. It happened in one turn. The next battle didn't happen again, and it would just alternate sometimes.
Well, my
It was,
concern would be like
consistent
we'd
with
be
me and
doubling the
Prof,
player
like-
base.
Like Prof was sitting there just doing it earlier with me, and he was every other time was just nope, couldn't pick up any elementals.
I mean, that might be just for this event, but
Yeah.
Hydrax was watching me laughing because I would just be running in place.
Yeah, he was just literally running in place. Yeah.
But everybody else on my screen is moving correctly. I am fighting all the monsters correctly. He is seeing me obliterate all the monsters, except for I'm not there. So it
When the
was
monster
very
obliterated,
strange.
like he would just jump right in front of me, and it's like, whoa, where'd you come from?
Yeah,
You were
so-
over there a minute ago.
I don't know. My concern is like you said, if it is even real, is could Genshin even handle 8-player, and it might not even be in the deck right now. When you're considering mobile and crossplay. And if you guys don't have any more else to add by this, we can go ahead and cut to a break. Then when after that, we'll come back to our Twitter questions.
It's entirely up to you. We only have like 4 or 5 actual questions. I mean, if you want to take a quick break, we still can. Or we could just power right through it. But that's, again, I'll leave that up to you, Professor.
Are you guys all feeling good? We'll just keep going.
Yeah, I'm good to go. I'm good to go.
I'm good.
Yeah, we're
All
good.
right.
All right.
Well, if you want to go ahead and pull up the first one from Magical.
All right, give me 1 second. We'll switch back over to this here. So they're all going to be on screen. We're just going to go through them in order. Y'all be able to see them all the whole time, though. We're good to go.
And they're asking. We were having this question last week, and we'll go ahead and reiterate it again because we know a lot of you are here for the first time. And if it's good to re-roll for a 5-star, I personally don't think it is. I'm enjoying my roster, but yeah, Gail. I mean, we were worried about people getting banned. I mean, that's the only real downside, other than wasting your time in air quotes, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, so far it seems like that was just a hoax, effectively, and it was just them being forewarning, basically, to try and dissuade people from re-rolling and trading accounts and stuff. Which, understandably, no company wants to have people selling and trading accounts. That's effectively kind of like, I wouldn't say you could argue it's revenue lost for them. So I guess that's why they were trying to dissuade people and try and threaten people. But so far it doesn't seem to be the case. Nobody's technically lost an account or anything of that sort. In terms of if it's worth the time investment, that's a different point, and I think it depends from person to person realistically, because it does take some time to get to AR5. Well, AR7 is a better place to start get to technically, because then you get someone on the Venti banner. But it depends on people's time and whether they're willing to put in the effort to reroll for a 5-star, because it can take between 10 to 20 minutes for just to get an AR5, and then an additional amount of time to get to AR7. So yeah, in my opinion, it just comes down to if you really want to. Personally, I think, as I've mentioned throughout, like, as long as you do the beginner banner summons on Noel's banner, you should be good to go for a majority of the game, in my opinion, because you get 2 4-star characters, basically, hopefully 2 different ones and not just Noel back to back. But yeah, no, that's my perspective. What about you, Nas?
I think pretty much the same. Like, if you're the type of person that just wants some kind of strong foundation to go through the game with, you can re-roll and put in that extra time. Like, I've had quite a few friends that re-rolled until they got, more often than not, they'd get Venti, but some of them got Diluc, and they're happy with where they're at. On the flip side of the coin, if you are someone that's going to be spending a little bit of money and you're not purely free to play, you are guaranteed a 5-star every 99 pulls. Your 100th single or your 10th multi will include a 5-star. So if you're kind of more of a dolphin or even into the whale territory, there's real no reason for you to re-roll, because you will eventually start getting multiples of them. It is guaranteed at some point. And if you summon on the Venti banner specifically, there are no 5-star weapons on that banner. So you only have a pool of 5-star characters to choose from. So that's kind of where I stand. Like, if you're going to be spending any type of money, like say you're the only type of person to buy like each of the sales one time, I don't think you'll necessarily need to re-roll. A, because you've already spent a little bit of money, and B, because you are guaranteed to get that value. You know, you're not guaranteed to get exactly who you want to get, but you will get, you know, the same 5-star unit chance that you would spend your time re-rolling for. And I don't know. Again, I think it's very personal dependent. Like, if you're willing to put the time in, if you're just starting brand new, then sure, why not re-roll a few times and see if you get lucky? But if you already have an account that's like level 15 to 20 and you're considering whether you should start over, I would say probably not, because, you know, eventually you'll start getting those guaranteed pulls. The game is meant to be a long haul game, like over a long period of time. So, I mean, I wouldn't cave to the feelings of being too impatient and needing it now, because you will get them sooner or later. And if you don't get them now and you start summoning on the newer characters and you get them then, you might end up even more happy than what you would have been if you wasted a bunch of time re-rolling. So there's always that. Luck, it always comes, it always goes. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the matter.
I definitely don't agree. Well, don't think people should re-roll. Like, the only reason I could see someone re-rolling is like you have a favorite character and that's your favorite character and you got to have that character and you need that character. Like, if that's you, I mean, you know, more power to you. Do what you want. But anyone that knows me, my favorite character is Beto. And I know tier lists don't really matter, but a lot of people rank her like C tier. And if we're talking about damage, she does not outdamage Razor, D-Luke, except she does not outdamage them. I can 100% tell you. But I love her so much. Like, she's just the best character to me. And I use her, literally. Since day one, I've used her, and I've loved her. And it's just a matter of who do you like? Because say you start the game, the Wind MC is an amazing unit. They give you almost all of his constellations for free, except one after you like leveled up. They give you Amber, which I know a lot of people don't like Amber, but her being a fire bow user brings so much utility. Like, you can't deny that the utility for her is not there. K is horrible in my opinion. But it's just a matter of, you know, like Lisa, you know, say you get Barbara for free, you get Zhang Li for free, we're apparently getting Fischl for free. So between Barbara and Lisa, now you have water lightning combo. There's so many things that you get up front already that it's just like, if you're going to reroll, you're just going to be wasting your time to get a unit that you're going to be building 3 other units with anyways. Whereas it's like, you could just play the game, level up, and who knows, you might get lucky.
You will eventually. You have to, you know, the guaranteed summon.
Yeah.
So.
Like, I did a multi, got a 5-star weapon, and then I was like, man, I really want Chi-Chi. Did another multi, pulled Chi-Chi, just on the normal banner. You know, 1 out of 15 chance to pull Chi-Chi. Pulled Mona on the, you know, on the normal banner. So it's just like, it's a gacha game. You got to understand that if you want to play the game and pick your characters, like 5 stars don't matter. I wasn't using 5 stars for the longest time, and I was getting through just fine. So I definitely think you guys should just play.
I kind
of second that, especially because I have a day 1 account, and even for the chance of getting a 5-star character, I wouldn't want to delete that because maybe one day there's extra gifts for having logged in for X amount of days or for being a long-term player, and you're just throwing that all away just for a chance at getting something you want. So I generally agree that.
And it's my email. I don't have to remember 16 emails and passwords.
Yo, it's generally more frustrating with what it's worth, but like you said, if you're obsessed with one character and you have the time to invest, there's nothing stopping you. I generally don't recommend doing it either, just for the pure time and randomness involved in having to do it over and over again.
For me, you know, you can play the game without actually using email. You can sign up using a username. And if you're using like, if you sign up with like so many different usernames, imagine not getting the one that you just want. Like I wouldn't have just Hydros if I had kept re-rolling. I would have like Hydros 23859 at the end of my name, and that would be the most awful thing to me. I would drive me nuts having to look at that.
That's like late 90s right there.
Yeah, so the same with the email thing. If I had to like go make a new email like for every new account,
bro,
like,
it's even worse for really PSN. You literally have to make a whole new PSN account to do it.
Yeah, the way they've really developed this game, it is a gacha, but the way they made it, it's not like a gotcha to where, hey, we start out with like the best units in the game. Like all units are pretty good. Like you can use literally 4 stars for the majority of the game. So just pick up and play. That's what kind of game it is to me, is a pick up and play. Don't sit there and reroll and it's waste like 30 days trying to get one character if you are unlucky like Nolar.
Yeah, Nolar has literally gone in over $6,000, hasn't gotten Diluc yet. Imagine if you were unlucky on rerolling, how many reroll accounts it would take you to potentially get the one character you wanted. It's just not worth it. Now, if you're rerolling just to get any 5-star character, just to have a strong foundation, and you're just coming into the game brand new today, you're not like sacrificing an account with a lot of tenure on it, I could see that as a little bit more reasonable. But chasing after anything specific in a gacha game is almost always a terrible idea.
I'm just saying, watch Dilute become a free character.
Oh my god.
I know a lot of people have like been they played other games where it's just like, if you don't have this character, you can't play. Like Grand Cross. Lost Vein comes out. If you don't have Lost Vein, you kind of just don't play the game. You know, you can't really play PvP. You get one shot, you can't do anything. With this game, and this is, I thought that people shouldn't reroll before this, but then they gave you Barber for free, and now at that point, you get every single element in the game for free. So like, there's no element that you don't have starting off, right? Well, once you get AR20, you get Barbara. But yeah, so it's like you have every single element in the game. It's just better if you play. You can build a complete team around the units you have.
Yeah, no, I expect them to also throw in, like, once we start getting Dendro units, I'm definitely expecting like one Dendro unit will be free for us to pick up. So that's also covered. Yeah, no, I definitely think that I also have a gut feeling. This is a personal feeling. I don't know how they've done it. I don't know if they have it on Honkai, but I'm basing it off FGO. What I do hope they do in the future is that they do maybe like a twice a year thing where they do drop like a guaranteed 5-star like banner, so you can like, or character banner, guaranteed 5-star character banner, where you basically spend some money for a multi, and you can do a multi and you're guaranteed that 5-star. That would be nice. It allows people to also have the chance to at least pick up these units if they want to spend a slight amount of money. And obviously twice a year, it's not going to be that much.
Yeah,
and it's an option. I hope it could be for anniversary, it could be for New Year's, it could be for one of the two. It would be a nice addition. It's not something that is consistently coming every single month or anything. It's just twice a year. You get a chance at a 5-star, not obviously your choice you're summoning for it, but a 5-star of any choice. And it's and since we know that all characters are useful, everybody will be appreciating at any 5-star at this point. So that would be an amazing addition if they do that in the future as well. So that's another thing that I hope they do, so that, you know, it also kind of halts people from re-rolling as well, because like we mentioned, it's not necessary. And that would be another reason why you shouldn't re-roll, because you're going to get a 5-star inevitably if they do a guaranteed 5-star banner.
Well, I think through like login rewards, time spent in the game, everything else like accounted for, the pity system, you really just play the game. Don't try to worry about it.
That's really why the only recommendation I'd recommend is if you're picking up the game today, brand new, you're not deleting anything, you're not sacrificing any of time spent so far, and you just want any random one, then okay. Maybe if you can check all those check marks off the list, maybe spend a few hours and see if you can get lucky. If not, you get frustrated, just start playing. You'll get rewards. The more time you put into the game, the more the game's going to eventually give back to you. So that's kind of my ultimate stance on it.
Most of the time, single summons are pretty much the best way to even go even summoning in this game. So you can get really lucky and get a 5-star just off of that.
Yeah, there's actually a Reddit thread somewhere that kind of disseminates the whole debate between singles and multis and kind of pushes the favor towards singles anyway. So maybe we could analyze that for a video or something here soon.
We can definitely look into that. We got the next question coming up from Jake the Dog. He asks, how broken do you reckon the switching of weapons with the same character can be? And I assume he's referring to, switching from a bow to a dagger, similar to what we're going to see with Child or Chilled here coming soon. Or is this more of like one character, 2 kits kind of deal?
I think he's asking as far as like one character having access to multiple weapons, because I actually thought about this in the past with like how the MC gets like multiple elements. What if he was like able to use multiple weapons. Like say when he gets the fire, he would have to use a two-handed weapon or etc. But I feel like a character having multiple weapons, it wouldn't be super broken depending on the kit, you know, because like it just depends on the kit of the user. But I feel like a lot of abilities are focused around the weapon. You know, like how is Beto going to counter with a bow? How is Venti going to shoot his ult with the sword?
I think for a lot of that,
as long as they're mostly side
switch...
grades and not direct upgrades, like so each kit will have its advantageous and disadvantageous situations. I think that'll be fine. Like, yeah, even if he does use different weapons, like because obviously when he switches to the Claymore, he's going to be slower, and if most of the abilities are slower and you're sacrificing speed for power, well, that's mostly a side grade because you have pros and cons to switching to that build. Whereas if they keep the wind build, he's got the one-handed sword, he can attack and get in and out really fast. And there's different bosses that have, if you're attacking those Fatui guys, well, they're huge and they're slow. So maybe you want to bring a character that you can get in there, get a lot of strikes in real quick, dash out of the way, versus one that has, really slow, long animations like Diluc, who can get trapped in a really long overhead swing and then you get smacked by the enemy. So, having different pros and cons to different sub-builds, that just increases the diversity of the game, which is a really good thing. I would agree with that. Now, maybe not every character can do it. I don't know how much development time they're willing to put in. Like, maybe each character could have, one alternate choice that still fits with their kit, but with the MC especially, having him be able to do the full customization. I mean, he kind of is, for all the Dragon Ball Legends players or people familiar with it, he kind of, is the shallot of this game, where, he can kind of fill a bunch of different roles, learn different moves, and do a bunch of different stuff that the other characters don't have access to, so... It could be really neat if they expand upon that.
I think that the multiple weapons idea is kind of cool, but I'd prefer... Well, it's not really prefer because it just means that we'll have to summon more. But I think it'll be better in that sense. It'll take less development time as well as add more variety if they just apply it to, say... I wouldn't say seasonal units, but maybe alternate units if they decide to do it. But again, I don't know. Again, it's kind of hard, like you guys mentioned, the development time invested into making another specific kit for each of these units, and especially for, say, all weapon types. You would rather put that towards maybe newer versions of other units instead. So like adding in a completely new fire spear, not fire spear. What are we missing? Fire catalyst unit rather than making D-Look a catalyst unit all of a sudden or something like that,
Yeah, I feel it makes more sense for the MC than all the other characters.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like if he had a different weapon per element, I feel like that would be a cool mechanic. I mean, obviously it's
that I agree with.
Much late to do it now, but say lightning, he has a one-handed sword, or with wind he could keep the one-handed sword. Lightning, he has a spear. You go Geo, he has a two-handed, it's just anything like that. I feel like that would have been really cool.
Hydros, you're saying something?
I was gonna say if they'd done it like they did the constellations, where every element for at least the MC has different constellation variants that go with each of the elements. So if they could have done it to where if they had done even artifacts and your weapons were just, I guess, taken away when you swapped your different element, not necessarily taken away, but it would just disappear and it would swap to the other element. That way you can actually put different kits into, you get basically a preset of different artifacts per element for your MC and stuff like that.
Well, that makes sense too, because even with the Traveler right now, I mean, there's equips in the game that you equip and it's 20% boost to Hydro damage, and you have to remember to go in and switch that. No, he doesn't do Hydro right now, but he's got an artifact that boosts Anemo damage, and you switch him to Earth. You have to remember to go in and switch the artifact out manually right now. So even right now, the different presets would be useful. But for that especially, they could expand on that.
I fully expect him to get, if he gets Hydro, when he gets Hydro, that he has Hydro Pump. I fully expect
it. His all just spouts of fucking water beam through his mouth.
Yeah, and I would assume that for now, for the foreseeable future, any of this dual weapon stuff is going to be in the same design pattern that they are setting up Child, where he probably just has the bow, but goes into a different stance, and he pulls out a spear or the daggers, but they're all going to scale and be represented by the stats on the bow itself.
Yeah.
So if they do dual weapons for like regular characters that are not super customizable like the MC, I feel like it's going to be like Child, and then the MC, hopefully they do give him some, some more options.
Maybe they could do something where after we beat Child, maybe there's some story related quest where we can make him a bow unit with the melee stance as well. That is to say the MC or something. But again, we don't know. We don't know the story yet and how it's gonna go. So it's all just theories
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
still dying
But
to
that
know
would be
what
really
that
cool.
floating island in the sky is, if that's the Jade Palace or Rex Lapis's island or
Yeah.
what.
A lot of people said it was a Storm Terror, like where you fight him, but like that's nowhere near.
No, yeah,
like,
it doesn't even
where.
look like that.
Like, so who knows?
Yeah, I think it's the Jade Temple or Rex Lapis's island, but yeah, it could be something completely different. Who knows?
All right. Well, we got the next question is, and this one's pretty black or white, I guess. Or I guess you can go into details if you want. But do you prefer Geo Traveler or Animo Traveler? And I like Animo. Geo drives me nuts.
Animo easily.
Yeah. Every time I drop the Geo, its E ability or the little meteor, it just gets in my way. It doesn't do anything.
Actually, I feel like for combat, a Nemo, but for like going around the world, the Geo Traveler I feel like is a lot better because there's so much stuff you need to use him for and leeway. And like as far as Mondstadt, there's not really anything you need the Anemo Traveler for. So as far as traveling, I feel like Geo Traveler is better. But Anemo is like 100% better for fighting.
Yeah, I was actually going to mirror the same thing. Like, you need the Geo one to do all the exploration and the puzzle interactions, but you really, don't want to use that one in combat too much. So, pretty much echoing the same thing. Animo is better for fighting, and the Geo is better for general exploration and puzzle interactions.
Yeah, no, I agree. The traveling part of it is the only saving grace, arguably, of the Geo Traveler. Well, you can kind of make him somewhat usable for a support build because he does have this whole thing where he can party buff crit rate, I think it is, on one of his constellations or his passive, I think it is. So there is some use in having him in your party for a third unit or a fourth unit, you could say. But, like, combat-wise, Animo is by and far the better option for sure. Like the swirl damage, the elemental reactions you can do with it. Plus, if you put in I don't remember the exact name of the artifact set, but the one that increases Animo damage and swirl damage. If you slap that on him, it's fantastic. It really is good. That becomes so strong.
Yeah, like the Viridescent set on even Venti.
Yeah, that's the one.
Insane.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the set.
If you have Venti in your party, you don't need the Animo Traveler at all for any type of exploration or just world traveling.
I used him earlier on before I got like Mona and Chi-Chi. I was running like Beto, Barbara, Venti, and then the Wind Traveler for the Wind buff. So I mean, I did it.
Like that's especially helpful if you want to like fly out to that island to do those quests where you got to fly all the way out. Like the only other way to do it is to eat the chicken in mid-flight that restores stamina. But if you
that
build
is
with
wrong.
like Amber and Venti and secondary wind, you can just fly straight over there.
Well, no, if you have max stamina, you can do it.
I tried to do it early on, and I needed to eat a chicken.
Okay. Well, yeah.
to get there.
Yeah, you need max stamina and Amber, and you can just fly off Star Snatch Cliff to get to the island.
I went to the beach, and I took the ice character, and I made an ice bridge. I just walked forward.
That's another alternative.
So you that I don't have your stamina, there is hope.
My community calls him the bridge builder. So
If you had 4
God.
people using him in co-op, you can build across any body of water real fast.
Yeah, I know some people who did that for the ship off Leeway Harbor as well, and it was like, well, you could just fly off as well, to be fair. But yeah.
At least that one's a little better because once you get on it, you get a fast travel back and forth. But Badoo's ship is a pain in the butt to get to.
Yeah, no, that's just that. Yeah, that's why I said I'm just slapping a teleport waypoint because I'm pretty sure once we get the additional quest, there's gonna be something with Beidou and that ship again. So better to be safer than sorry, just slap a pocket waypoint on top of the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this right now. I just maxed out Zhang Li on a single.
Oh my god.
Singles are OP.
Yeah, singles
I
are
know,
OP.
but Zhang Li needs to leave me alone.
She's real good, dude. If you have her, Max, Dupe, I mean, ideally you run her and Diluc together on the same team because you get the double fire buff, but if you have her, Max, Dupe, and Diluc with no dupes and a good weapon on her, she pretty much out damages and is much faster than Diluc, so there is that.
All right, let's segue into our last question here. And it's, what unit is the best free unit in the game currently? My thoughts go to Lisa and Traveler. How do you feel there, Dark?
I feel like Barbara easily. There's no one that can take her job as like a free to play player or like free to play. You know, like MC does damage, Lisa damage, combo damage, whatever you want to call it. Amber can be like secondary damage, Kaya damage, Zhang Li damage. Barbara gives free to play players a complete team, in my opinion.
Yeah, her heals are invaluable.
And then and then like she's super easy to build. You just go all HP percents. There's a 3-star book that has base attack, HP percent, and then it gives like a 48% attack boost when you switch off of her. So you can refinement 5 that easily. And it's just like you don't have to do like any heavy investment into her because like who else are you building HP percent? Nobody. So like, I feel like she's super easy to build. She has pretty good constellations, and people are going to be summoning on Venti. She's rated up, and her last constellation revives. So it's like, I feel like she's just really good.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. I will say one more thing on top of Barbara as well is that you can easily make her like her heals are already good even if you don't give her HP percent. You can easily also turn her into a semi-nuke as well with if you give her like elemental mastery or something like that. She can easily slam units as well, especially if you use vaporize, I think, or so for fire reacting with water. You can do some crazy stuff with her. But yeah, no, I concur with Darkskin on that. Barbara is probably the best free-to-play unit we have in this game right now. It's just their versatility. And on top of that, you mentioned the 3-star weapon. You can also craft the 4-star weapon, which increases her healing effectiveness. The prototype Malice, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That's also a very good alternative as well in terms of just healing purposes as well. So for Barbara herself, her kit has a range of like choices you can make, and that's the best part about her, I guess.
I will say that maybe a year from now, the Traveler will be the best free to play in the game. But as of right now, I definitely agree that it's Barbara. Like,
yeah, outside of Barbara being unique to what she does, the Traveler is like they literally give you all of his constellations except one free. You just have to level up. So as you level up, you'll eventually get them all. On top of, they give you a 4-star weapon at AR10, so you get a 4-star weapon for him as well. So like I definitely think he would be the next best thing if we're not talking like healer. So
yeah, just because in this game you need the heal. You do not do end game in this content. Realistically, you need 2 of them, but having 1 for free is a huge head start. Like, definitely.
Any thoughts, Hydros?
Yeah, no, I think Barbara definitely is one of the better free to plays, at least for now. When 1.1 comes, you'll no longer actually be able to get her for free. So you might want to hurry up and do that if you're new to the game. Get to adventure rank 20 and you can actually get her for free that way. But yeah, Barbara, if you definitely a great free healer right there that'll just overall round your team out pretty well.
I mean, I would also say Zhang Ling deserves an honorable mention because Amber, in my opinion, Amber is great for the same thing that the Geo Traveler is. Like, she's great for doing the fire challenges where you need to light up like 5 different targets. Like, trying to do that with Diluc is mad annoying because he only has 3 hits and then you gotta sit there and wait. But Amber can just light up and fire arrows all the time. So she's great for exploration, but in terms of actual combat, Zhang Ling is going to be like an instant replacement on your team for her. And it is also free if you can get through, the 3rd Spiral Abyss stage, which is pretty easy as long as your whole team is, in the level 40 range and maybe 50 if you want to get all the stars, but you don't need to get all the stars just to get her for free. So Definitely honorable mention because she'll be like an instant replacement for one of the initial free characters you get. But that's also something that I believe is relatively time sensitive, so you won't be able to get her for free forever. I don't think, but I'm not sure. So.
I think she's free forever.
Is it
Barbara's
permanent?
the only
Just
time.
that's a
yeah,
never-ending event.
I think Zhang Li is permanent.
Okay,
It's
so
Barbara
yeah.
that's just not.
So as
She's
long as
only
she's
till
free to play, then she
1.1.
definitely gets an honorable mention behind Barbara.
She's probably one of the best 4th slot characters, if any. Like, you just need another unit. You don't really have anybody. I feel like she always fits there.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my Barbara Max Unbound, and she has not left my team. I mess up, I fall off a cliff. Oh well.
Oh yeah, Barbara too. But Zhang Ling you can just switch to her, chuck the spear, and then you have constant elemental reactions for like the next 10 seconds. So definitely don't sleep on Zhang Ling.
No, when I initially said Lisa, I was thinking from the very, very core group you get at the beginning. If we're talking about everybody that you're guaranteed to pull, Barbara has been the most impactful unit I have put on my team from everybody, if you're not counting my 5 stars.
I just wish that she would stop singing all the time.
Oh, dude, it's adorable. What are you guys talking about?
Not for the 10,000th time,
It's
though.
constant. Like, I
Bro,
don't know.
crank it up.
He talks way too much as well. It's just.
To be honest, the one person that I've gotten annoyed by the most was Amber. Not gonna lie. Every
Dude,
time
Amber
she
is the most annoying.
throw her bunny. Like I love and I like Amber. I know I called her a lighter at the start of the stream, but I like her. But God, woman, please shut up about your goddamn bunny. I've had enough of it.
Do we? This is kind of a tangent, but do we have any information about the release date of this game on Switch?
No,
I haven't heard
nothing.
anything.
It's just confirmed for 2021, I guess. That's about it.
No, I'm kind of curious on how it actually would run on Switch because
I think they'll base it off the mobile version. I think they'll base it off.
On the mobile version, you can also dial down graphics as well. So I'm imagining on the Switch you can do the same at least.
Yeah.
But
because I assume
if
they'll
they
make
do
it so
it's
that.
like here, optimize it yourself, basically.
But I think it'll be so kind of like, okay, you're on the go, you can dial it down. Oh, you've docked it. Okay, we're gonna you can turn it up if you want to, kind of situation.
And another little sub question I thought of is: do you think that the Switch version, will be in the same spirit of PlayStation, where they won't have the cross save, or do you think that Nintendo will be more cooperative with the account trading around?
Probably more cooperative.
Nintendo has generally been more cooperative with stuff like that over PlayStation. I don't know why Nintendo is stingy as can be, but when it comes to crossplay, most of the time they have allowed it in some cases. So it really just depends.
Well, and it's Nolar here. Just jumped in for real quick. Does like Fortnite's on Switch? You can buy the V-Bucks or Fortnite bucks on Switch, right?
And then take them to your other account. Yeah.
It won't when you buy on like different consoles. Like say you buy on PC, your V-Bucks don't actually show up on the console versions. So you have to go back.
So
to
they're
PC to
separated. They're separated.
Yeah, but the account itself is playable. But when you purchase
the currency is separate. Okay. No, that makes sense.
But I think cross save in terms of PlayStation, you can't bring your PlayStation account, like your Genshin account, into PC. If I'm not mistaken, you can't actually do that.
That's on PSN.
Switch should allow you to do that because if they follow the same way of Fortnite, then yeah, Switch would allow you to eventually do that. I would imagine. I think it's just ultimately PlayStation that is the stingy people behind.
It is. They basically don't want to allow that backdoor into like allowing a third-party MiHoYo portal to log into your PlayStation account. I'm assuming they see it either as some type of vulnerability or like, because their original stance, PlayStation, was, well, it's all for the children. Like, we don't want the kids to be able to be harassed or interact with people outside of the PlayStation community. So
that's more Nintendo than anything.
Yeah,
Nintendo's super strict
Sony
about
was
all
real
that.
verbal about it. Like that was their scapegoat for initially not doing crossplay with anything, is to protect the kids. But I feel like it's probably because they just don't want to allow that backdoor access into their systems.
Remember, we had all this controversy with TikTok and stuff happen. So MiHoYo is a Chinese company, so there could be that into effect.
Yeah,
as
that
well.
is, that would have to be a big collusion between a Chinese development company and Sony Entertainment in Japan. So who knows if they are even on speaking terms like that. I mean, I'm sure they are for business reasons, but they might not be that comfortable with each other.
I think Sony was just like, here, you can put your game on here, but we want our network to handle the account.
Yeah, I could definitely see there being terms like that.
I can see Nintendo ultimately doing that and joining PlayStation on that route, but I can also see them allowing cross save. Really, just depends on how Nintendo wants to really handle that.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna just say real quick, I've had bad luck with this gacha.
You've had
That's all I can
extremely
say.
good luck. You're just
You summoned
chasing
again?
one particular
Quite
unit.
people in chat wants to know what the best artifacts for Delic are, and they figured you would know.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's
So
that's
according
funny.
to Noir,
That's
you
real
definitely
funny.
want to run the Gladiator set on your Dilute.
Yeah, I feel like Gladiator, or unless you're going like crit. Those would be like the only two, in my opinion.
Yeah, Gladiator, and there's also you might and I don't know how much you really want to run this, but you could do the 2-piece of that fire set that buffs your pyro damage by 15%. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's got really good stats on the pieces, that might be worth considering too.
All right, then I think we've ran through all of our topics today, guys. Unless there's anything else you want to mention, I think we need to plug. If you haven't already followed us on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, you should do so already. Noah, is there anything you want to add?
I would say I might have to update the description, but you should definitely check out Darkskin Gaming on Twitter or to Twitch, right? You're mainly a Twitch streamer, so check him out. We'll both probably Twitter.
Well, I mean, I do
and
Twitch and YouTube.
So,
And-
yeah, we'll check him out on
yeah,
YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. He's definitely our new guest this week. We appreciate having him on here. And just to everyone in the audience, remember, this is a weekly podcast. We're setting this up so that it can go on every Monday for the foreseeable future. So if you're new around here, definitely consider subscribing so you can keep up to date every week with all things Genshin. And we are also planning on passing Nalar's account around a little bit, getting it leveled up so that we can do some whale showcases for you guys where, we can showcase, some of the really OP, whale teams in the game, but then also have access to all the free-to-play builds and do like a compare and contrast of, what free-to-play players can expect, what the more premium players can expect. So we're going to get on track leveling that up to provide even more Genshin content outside of only this podcast. So if you are a Genshin fan, hopefully you will join us in this adventure. But beyond that, follow everyone involved. We'll update the description so all the links will be there. And beyond that, anything else you want to say, Nalar, or back to you, Professor? That's pretty much all from me over here.
You just did the closing for me. If Nolar has nothing, that's it, guys.
The only big thing is we now have a public Discord for 59 Gaming.
Yes.
So I put the link in the chat. We'll update it also in the description. Definitely come out, hang out. We're in there every now and then. So if you want to get to know us as creators or have some fun, maybe get some co-op or whatnot down there, definitely go join the Discord and we'll be there.
Yep.
You
can go into the Discord and hit the roll for Genshin, and there's already little chat rooms and subsections built up. And Among Us, too. So other games, there's plenty of other stuff, Dokkan, Legends, tons of little subgroups in there. So hopefully we'll see you in there, and you can also keep up to date with everything we got going on that way as well. If you're not a Twitter user, that would probably be your best bet, the Discord.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's my last plug. So go ahead and close us out.
It's back to you, Professor, or if anyone else wants to say goodbye. Any final
No,
thoughts?
goodbye. Yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys next week, hopefully.
Yep, and then the last little thought is we are uploading this podcast in audio format as well to our Spotify, Google, iTunes, and whatnot. So if you're not able to catch it on video on YouTube, or maybe you go to the gym and you're at work, gym, work, whatever, you don't want to actually look at it on YouTube, then you can catch the audio version. Probably within the next 2 to 3 days will be live on all those services as well. Nolar has all that information, but
again, follow us on Twitter and whatnot, but 59 Gaming on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Deezer, whatever your favorite podcasting services will be there. So, and that includes everything from Legends, Dokkan, of course, now Genshin. So just subscribe to that and you'll be available to see all that.
other than that, I think we might try and go live on Twitch later with some gameplay. That's not concrete yet, but we'll be seeing you guys soon either way. So I guess we'll go ahead and close her out. I keep switching back to the gameplay. We'll go ahead and close her out here.